simply said, when you went out into the wilderness, in other words, when the people went out to see John the Baptist, what did they go to see? Did they go out to see a reed shaken by the wind? Now, this is a scene which everybody has seen, or if you've not seen it, then you've probably seen it in the movies, is you've seen a lovely rolling plain with a lot of grass, or a lot of especially wheat fields, and you've seen the wind blowing across. And what happens when the wind blows across? When the wind blows across, all the blades of wheat, all the plants of wheat bend over away from the wind. As the wind blows across, so the wind blows. The plants all wave. Okay? Again, the wind changes, and you find the same thing happening. You find so the blades of grass are simply moving this way and that way according to the wind. Greatness is not that. Greatness is not bowing with the wind. Greatness is not swinging with the wind. Greatness is being true to your convictions. This evening I want to challenge you. This evening I want to ask you, do you have strong convictions about God? Or do you change? One of the things which I have come across in my experience working both here as well as abroad with young people is that they're struggling with the rate of change. Things are changing a lot. And because things are changing, you're just not sure about what to be convicted about. One minute you're convicted about beverages, 1 minute you're convicted about movies, 1 minute you're convicted about greatness, 1 minute you're convicted about success. You're just going on changing. But you need to be firm. You need to be strong about what you believe. It's not enough. It's so easy to just float along. In fact, that's what they call surfing the web. When you go on the internet, that's what you do. You're not convicted about anything. All you're doing is just clicking on buttons, clicking on things, moving back, forth, front, back, not really knowing where you're going. Jesus wants to give you direction. He doesn't want you to be swayed by the wind. He doesn't want you to be swayed by every wind that comes across. Today they say, eat this. Tomorrow they say, eat that. Day after tomorrow they say, wear this. The billboard will say, do this. The TV star will say, do that. So-and-so actor will say, you know how I remain slim, I do this. And so everybody is getting swayed by this, that, and the other. But this evening I want to ask you, are you strongly convicted about what you believe? And will you bend, or do you keep swaying together? Okay. There's the inevitable, next point please, the inevitable feeling of helplessness. We're living in unpredictable times. I remember talking to one young person the other day, and he said, when 4 years back, I started doing a course. I took a degree program. And 4 years later, I've passed my degree, but the qualification which I got is invalid. It's obsolete. Times are changing. You go and do a degree, you do something, you specialize in something, and then you realize that thing isn't there. The technology is finished. It's gone. It happens all the time. Okay? And one of the marks of that is, or the outcomes of such times, is fast changing times, is that we don't have deep convictions. But this evening I'd like to challenge you with that. You need to have convictions. Remember, there are certain unchanging factors in this life, and one of them is Jesus. The Bible says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Everything else will change. Everything else will come and go. Men will come and go. As we saw in that slide there, kings will come and go, rulers will come and go, armies will come and go. But this Jesus will never change. He will remain the same. His love will remain the same. His name will remain the same. The power that is available in His name will remain the same. And that's why I am confident of that. William Penn said this. He said, right is right, even if everyone is against it. And wrong is wrong, even if everyone is for it. Many of you work in professions where there's something called ethics. You know that ethics are being blown left and right. Whether you work in a government office, or you work in a hospital, or you work in any kind of thing, you know you're struggling with ethics. You're struggling with what is right and what is wrong. and you can see a world which is beautifully swaying over to the other side. They simply say what? They say, call wrong right, and everything will be okay. But can you do it? Can you do it? Well, this man, John the Baptist, said, no, you can't do it. There was a time when marriage was considered holy. It was considered something that you kept and you honored. Today we live in a world where people change marriages like they change their shirts. Are we going to sway with the wind, or are we going to stay firm, is the question we are faced with. Okay? Next one. Could I have the next slide, please? This is what God said about Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a young man and he was struggling with life. When God called him, he said, I'm only a youth. But God said, He made him, I'm making you a fortified city, a bronze wall, an iron pillar. God can do that with you. If you're swaying by the wind, God can do that for you this evening. All right? He can do that. Next slide, please. The next thing that we have, the next measure that we have of greatness is denying oneself. It is living to certain standards. The whole world is moving towards comfort, increased comfort, no pain, pain-free living. But I want to tell you that if you want to head for greatness, the way is not to become a softie. It's a challenge. Next point, please. Are you a palace softie or a rock hard? What are you? Is the question. Okay? Do you pay a price? Are you convicted? Are you challenged? Are you determined to achieve what you want to achieve? It's a form of leadership. Okay? The next slide, please. Okay. Great achievement comes with a price tag. Okay, risk and sacrifice. There just has to be that. If there isn't that, then you have not reached any place. John the Baptist, we are told here in the next verse, verse 8, what did you go out to see? A man dressed in soft clothing? Those who wear soft clothing are in kings' palaces. Have you noticed people are beginning to get overweight? It's beginning to get fashionable. They even call them cute. The rounder you get, the cuter you get. But each one of us knows that. If you're eating too much, you're eating too much. If you're not disciplined enough, you know you need to be disciplined. And so it's my challenge to you. If you're going to head for greatness, you can't be a palace softie. You can't be a guy who's just given to comforts. There has to be time. There have to be hard times. There have to be times of self-denial. Okay? Greatness, the path to greatness is by denying oneself. Next slide, please. Greatness also has to do with humility. John the Baptist was a very humble man. Even though he was a precursor, even though he came before Jesus, yet, whenever Jesus' ministry came up, he was ever willing to say, he must increase, but I must decrease. You know that each one of us, inside of each one of us, there's that thing called ego. There's that thing which says what? Which says, how can somebody else be better than me? MC this evening also said the same thing. He said, each one of us thinks we've got the best concentration. And only when you're matched up with someone better than you, you realize that in fact your concentration isn't so good. We don't like to get told somebody's better than us. But humility is a mark of greatness. I know it's a paradox, but then Jesus himself is a paradox. The greatest became the least so that